I really enjoyed the fact that it was such a contrast to, my work as a software developer,
Mm.
right? And going from that to kind of the arts world, and in a and doing something where it's all interpretation, right? And everybody has their own unique interpretation. And as long as you're doing something that's truthful to yourself, then it can't be wrong.
Welcome, everybody, to Casting for Two. As always, hosted by me, Chris. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 577 of the podcast. I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday. However you all spent that, whether it was eating or just being grateful or doing both. That's always a plus. But yeah, I'm excited. I guess I should talk about castingfor2.com because you can just go to it and find the links to all the sites the podcast is available on, the socials, the store page. Castingfor2.com is there for you. All right. And if you want to do any Black Friday shopping, it's there. But I need to talk about my guest. My guest today is a wonderful actor, chameleon. He has his own YouTube channel devoted towards acting. Kurt Yue is on the podcast, and he has two things out right now. One is a movie called Regretting You, which at the time it was coming to theaters. Now it's on demand, so it's also on theaters and on demand, and it looks like a good one. So I'm excited to watch it. But he's also on the show Will Trent, the ABC show Will Trent. He's a busy person, and I'm grateful I was able to sit down and chat with him because we had a good chat. But I'm done talking because we need to get into it. All right, so everybody sit back, relax, and Kurt, take it away. So I'm super excited to chat with you. We're already in the podcast. We're in it. Lots of things going through my head. We'll get to your new film because I love a good drama movie. Like, is it a dramedy or?
I mean, I'm sure there's some comedic elements, but it's mostly a drama for sure.
Okay, I love action movies. I love Superman and stuff like that. But there's nothing better than to just cuddle with your loved one and watch just a straight up drama with good actors, a good story, and just kind of chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
And
100%.
And it's cool. It's also cool because you're in the trailer. You have the trailer moment where you have to deliver the bad news. Do you? Have you been in many movie trailers or anything like that?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm trying to think of the movies that I've been in. I can really only remember one other. I mean, I've been in some TV show trailers in the coming up next week on blah blah blah, right?
Yeah.
So I've been in some of those that I can remember, but there's another movie, a fairly recent movie called The Unbreakable Boy, where I coincidentally also played a doctor in that movie, and also delivered some pivotal news in the trailer. So they got me pinned for they need a doctor to deliver some life-changing news in a trailer. I'm your man.
I think that's so cool though. Is you're not going to get cut. I remember watching I forget which movie it was, but it was a DVD commentary, and one of the actors who was, I guess, I don't want to say a day player, but, had a smaller role. He was so excited to be in this role because he when he going into the process, he knew he was going to be in the trailer and he couldn't
Oh,
get cut. So that
oh
was,
yeah.
from an outsider looking in, like that must be a fun thing to like, I'm in a movie and I'm not going to get cut this time. Yay.
For all the up and coming actors, that's always the fingers crossed moment, right? You do
Yeah.
your kind of like smaller supporting role. You got one scene or you got a couple lines here and there or whatever. And, you just never know. There's all kinds of creative, things happening and choices that are being made in
Yeah.
post production. So there's always the possibility. It's always the small roles, right? That
Right.
are going to be the first that get cut because they're not as pivotal. But if you're in a pivotal scene,
Mm-hmm.
you can feel pretty confident that they're going to keep that scene in the movie.
Unless they do like some weird CGI. We replaced you with a tennis ball on a stick. My bad.
Yeah,
It
right.
just
Yeah,
needed. It just works better for the scene and for
exactly.
the motivation. But I'm curious for you. When did you get bit by the acting bug?
Yeah, that's a good question. So funny enough, the first acting that I can remember doing was a fourth grade play, and it
Mm.
was a mandatory play, so I had
Oh.
no choice in doing it. And it wasn't like I didn't do it and then all of a sudden go home to my parents and said, I can't wait to do that again. It
Yeah.
just, it was a thing that we did in school, and then I kind of forgot about it. And
Mm.
so the next acting that I did after fourth grade was after college. I was 26 years old. I was already working, my corporate job after graduating with a computer science degree. So I
Mm.
was doing software development, and I was just looking for something to do after work,
Mm.
as something fun to, break up the monotony of my cubicle life. And
Yeah.
so, me and my best friend from high school, we were both working our respective corporate jobs, and we would get together after work and go to happy hours and stuff like that. And, so we were just like looking for things to do. And one of the things that came up was happened to come across this acting studio that was about 10 minutes away from where I lived.
Mm.
And I was like, hey, why don't we give this a try? So we both, kind of signed up for that class and uh, went in with zero expectations.
Yeah.
I certainly was in no way thinking of a career change. I
Yeah.
was just, like I said, just looking for something fun. And to their credit, it was absolutely fun. It was something that I enjoyed doing and I continued to do for over a year before I even got, an agent, to try to do anything more with the acting. I was just going to it week after week because I enjoyed it.
And
And
yeah.
and the and then it was just kind of gradual from
Mm.
that point forward of just like doing a little bit more, a little bit more. And even when I got my agent, it wasn't like I was seeking them out. It was one of my classmates in the acting class was like, hey, you ever thought about getting an agent? I have an agent and I can introduce you. So it was like, okay, I'm open to it and let's see how this goes. And then it was just kind of like continued to be gradual growth and gradually doing more and more with it. And so if there was such thing as like a extended 10-year bug bite,
Mm.
right? That's kind of like the acting bug of how it taught me. Certainly wasn't one thing that made me think, oh, I want to do so much more of this for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Yeah. I like thinking about the fact that you were just like, yeah, I'm still gonna kind of do the acting, but I'm also gonna do my big corporate job, and I'll just
Yeah.
take a week off, and then you just kind of disappeared, and they never heard from you again. But they're still expecting you in. Like they kept your cubicle fresh.
And it's still there. It's still got my
It's like
that would
your name's
that'd be a
still
good
on it,
story.
so we got to
Yeah.
respect it.
Yeah, that would be a great story if one day I just I took a PTO day and then just never came back.
Well,
In a sense, it was kind of like that, not
yeah.
quite to that extreme, but it was that at the time when I kind of stopped doing the software work, I was working instead of a salaried full-time position, I was doing contract work. So I was doing like 3-month contract, 6 months contract. And in this particular case, back in 2013, I had just finished a 12-month contract with one company. And so I was going to their office for the whole year, January through December, finished at the end of the year. And so it wasn't like I quit or got fired or anything like that. It was just like the contract was, we all knew it was ending, and it was on to the next thing, right? And so I made a decision at the end of 2013 when that contract ended to take a break, and that really was it. So it was, in my mind, I had always thought to, all right, I'm going to come back to this, but at least I'm going to give myself a couple months to not take my next interview for a software job. And at that time, like, the software market was so hot, like, I just knew that, give me a couple interviews, I'll get another job. Right. So I wasn't worried about it at all. And I was pretty confident in, like, I can take a break. I have some money saved up. Let me play around, dabble in doing a little bit more acting and whatever. And then after a couple months, I just kind of realized, well, I haven't really dipped in my savings yet. I had some side hustles happening, and, I was able to kind of float by still without my full-time income. So let's just continue to try to do this a little bit longer. And that little bit longer turned into the next 12 years or so. So I haven't gone back since. So it wasn't quite as extreme as just like taking a day off work, but it was kind of like that in the sense that in my mind, I was for a long time always thinking, all right, I'm going to go back to it. I'm going to go back to it at some point. Right. Yeah. And just extend this break a little bit longer. And then it just, never went back.
I relate to that because when I come from the film world. I have a film degree, all that, the production side. I dipped a little into acting, but I was just like, it's just fun for me. But production is the thing that I take very seriously. And I also had a big boy corporate job, and I was just kind of, one job would help pay for the other, where, I need to travel to wherever because I want to film there with my friends. Okay, I'll just do that. But when the pandemic happened and the corporate job was like, well, we're going to have to let a bunch of people go. And I was one of them. And I was just kind of like, whoa, okay, I don't have this job anymore. And it was just kind of like a thing, a switch had been flipped where, this one job that I've been going to, that's always been there, that's kind of been the safer route. I don't have it. Now I can just do whatever I want. Okay. And so I was just kind of thankful that it wasn't a bad job by any means, but it was just one of those things where, I don't have that to fall back on. Okay. Well, I'll forge a new path now. And that's where I've been, and I've enjoyed it. Even though it was on the tech side and computer processors. So now I'm not in the know of any of that stuff anymore, which is kind of sad. No. Wow. I used to be in so up to date on everything, and now I'm just like, what generation are they in? What?
It changes so fast.
Yes.
Same on the software side. There's no way I can go back to programming. I just don't. Yeah. I would not know where to start.
Yeah, it's crazy how, like you said, things just move by so quickly, and it's just like, well, now I'm outdated. Okay, well, I guess I'll just act. So,
congrats to you on making that transition too. I feel like that is a skill in itself too, of being able to adapt, right, and be able to. So sometimes, someone loses a job and it's just like, well, I don't know how to do anything else. Well,
right.
I feel like it also provides us with that opportunity to all right, let's figure things out and let's try to find a way to adapt to this new situation. And it's awesome that you're able to figure that out and adapt.
I was always, I feel like I was trying to do, I had the podcast during that job, but, and, asking questions and getting, talking to people, that I feel like it really helped me with that job, because that
Hmm.
was one of the main things I had to do, was to chat with people and find out, their issues, or what can make their lives easier. And I was just like, oh, well, I can do that, so that's easy.
Yeah,
But still, it was just kind of a training ground for this podcast aspect in that
sure.
job. Both things that I would do would inform the other one, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that's why I got super comfortable just doing it, because talking to people, and I swear I'm an introvert. I love I love my quiet time and everybody to leave me alone. But
Yeah.
there's points where okay, I gotta turn it on. All right, here we go. Flip the switch. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you'd be surprised how many actors are
Mm.
introverts. I mean, you might not be because you kind of worked in the industry, but there's so many actors that are out there that actually would rather, they like doing their thing and they like doing performing when it's their job, but then outside of it, they'd rather just kind of keep a low profile and just be at home.
Which, there's nothing wrong with that,
No,
and
not at all.
especially with how crazy things are today with, like, the social media aspect. Like,
Yeah.
do I really have to be on all the time? I just want to chill.
Right.
I just want
Yeah.
to go sleep or something like that. But you said that you did an acting class, and I know that there was no one thing, but what was it about that acting class that hooked you? Was it playing, a different kind of person, the
Mm.
people, just what was it?
A couple things, but number one, first and foremost, the people for
Mm,
sure. I know, as I said, I was looking for something to do after work, and had it not been a welcoming environment and
mm,
fun, and the people being, cool to hang out with, I wouldn't have gone back, because
right.
I wasn't looking. It wasn't like, all right, no matter what, I'm gonna gut my way through this because I want to be an actor. That wasn't my mindset, right? So, it the people were great. I can't credit the owner of the acting school. Her name is Jessica Hood Morris, and she created such a welcoming environment, and such a fun environment, and a sense of community. So many of my closest friends to this day are from that class,
Hmm.
and the people that I met while taking that class, and so that kept me going back, right? And then as I started learning more and more of it and started doing more and more of it, I really enjoyed the fact that it was a such a contrast to, my work as a software developer,
Mm,
right? Having gone through high school and college, being totally in the math and science world, and graduating with a software and engineering degree, and in that world where there's always a distinct right and a wrong. And if you do
right.
your job wrong, the software doesn't work and there's a bug, right? And you get an error and you can't, and you got to go fix it. And then
Yeah.
and then once it's right, then it's working, and it's correct.
Mm,
And going from that to kind of the arts world, and in a and doing something where it's all interpretation, right?
hmm.
And everybody has their own unique interpretation. And as long as you're doing something that's truthful to yourself, then it can't be wrong. And two people can do something totally different and both be right. And just being in that world was like very fascinating to me. And to be able to kind of like turn off that one side of my brain to
Mm,
leave work and turn on a totally different side of my brain, and explore this new world. I think that part, kept me coming back as well. And even in the early stages when it was more or less just a hobby, it was still like a really fun and interesting hobby that I was like committed to, like
yeah.
really wanted to learn more and be able to, do more of it. And I feel like that's what eventually led to me kind of, continuing on with it, because without those things, I probably would have let's stop the acting classes and find something else, right? Find
Right.
the next thing to pass my time after work.
Was there with the community that you joined? Was there ever a sense of competition between everyone, or was it just like truly like everybody had everyone's back?
Yeah, it certainly felt that way, and I think it's human nature to, you see somebody succeed and you kind of wish it was you and all
Mm,
that. I don't think there's any way to get rid of all of that,
yeah.
right? But but if you get into it with the sense, and then you actually get to know the people, and then they become your friends, of course, then you're going to be happy for them when they succeed. So when I would see my friends early on, before I got an agent or anything, and they were booking like local commercials, and my mind would be blown when I would see somebody on TV, right?
Yeah.
And they're doing like a local car commercial or whatever, and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that could happen. I thought you had to be in Hollywood to like
Mm,
appear on TV in any capacity. So, I think it was really easy to, support people and actually, root for them to succeed when you've become actual friends with them.
hmm.
When it's not just like, I'm just in class with you, right?
Right.
But because they've really kind of fostered a welcoming community, and there were so many days. It felt like, if I think back to it, it almost felt like after every single class, because our classes would be in the evenings, because it really did cater to people who had jobs, right?
Hmm.
And could only come after work hours. So, our class would be in the evenings. Let's say it would be like 6 to 8 p.m. or something like that. And so many times we would all leave class and all go out to dinner together. And it was on a street where there were a bunch of restaurants and stuff like that. So we'd go out to a bar, or we'd go out to a restaurant and have dinner. So we continue to build those friendships outside of the class as well. And that certainly helped in us really kind of supporting each other. And I found that throughout my career too. After leaving Cleveland, coming here to Atlanta, where I currently
Mm,
live, the friends group that I have here, many of them are in the industry, are actors, are writers or directors or whatever, and it's such a supportive group. And so many people, when one of us has a win, and we share it on our social media, you get the reshares from everybody else to celebrate, and to say we can't wait to watch each other on TV or in a movie or whatever. So it's great to have that level of support. And because it can be a very secluded
yeah.
lifestyle to pursue this career, where you're just kind of we're auditioning, and then and to have people that have your back is wonderful.
There's something about the arts community that is very special, where like you said, like I feel like everybody supports everybody. I was, I haven't ran into the people looking to, uh, be competitive. I'm not a competitive person. I'm just like, whatever, who cares? If you need it, if you're willing to stab people in the back, then I guess you need it that bad. So whatever, take it.
Yeah.
But there's something special where, yeah, you find the right group of people, and that's like I don't even know how to explain it. It's like you can't bottle it. It's just
Yeah.
something that's special, and kind of keeps you going in a weird way.
Yeah, well, I mean, aside from like award season and
Yeah,
stuff like that, it's not really a competition, right?
yeah, yeah.
Aside from that, it's a creative industry, and we create, right? So um the fact that you know people, I could just go get together with a handful of my friends today and just, hey guys, let's make a movie.
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't, we're not competing with anyone to do it. It's just like, let's just get together and do it. And so that's in a sense, there doesn't need to be any sort of competition.
Yeah.
It can sometimes feel like that for sure, because if you're, especially as an actor, where there's so little that's within our control from strictly an acting standpoint, where the jobs need to be written and then produced and then cast, and then you have to, audition and get the role
Right.
and all of that. So there's so much of the acting career that really does rely on other people to kind of create those opportunities. And then the auditioning part of it can sometimes feel like a competition. But then whenever that comes up, and whenever people talk about, the feelings of rejection when you don't get the role, my favorite analogy, and I wish I knew who to attribute this to. I can't remember when I heard it, but once I heard it, it really did stick with me. And whenever someone brings up like rejection for actors, because it does come up all the time, and how often we audition and how little, we actually book the role. Somebody talked about it in terms of, think about it in terms of selection instead of rejection. So when you think about, hey, this morning you went to your closet, you have like 45 shirts in your closet, you picked one of them. It's not that you reject it. It's not like you hate all your other shirts, right? You just happen to pick one particular shirt for the day, and it's the one that felt right for you for that day, for whatever is going on for that day. But all the other things that you have in your closet all are going to serve their purpose at some point or another. And so, but you can only pick the one for the day. And same that, in a way, that's the case with an actor. You may be their second choice, but second doesn't get you anything, right? But you just got to know there's the roles that are going to be right for you. And when you're auditioning, just think about it in terms of selection. It doesn't necessarily mean that they hated what you did, right? Or they're rejecting you. In many cases, they're happy with a lot of, the auditions that come in. But at the end of the day, they can only cast one person. So you just got to keep grinding, keep doing the work, and you'll find those projects that you align with.
I totally agree. And there was one time where I wanted to go through the audition process, because I'm a production side. I have no idea what you all go through. So I got, I don't even know how I did it, but I went through the process, and they wanted me to play a drug dealer. And I was just kind of thinking, I don't think I've ever met a drug dealer. So I don't know how I'm going to do this. And I don't know, hearing my voice, I don't have that dark gravelly ness to it. I'm like, hey guys, you want to hang out? That's me. So I remember going in there just like, well, I'm not going to get this, but let's just have fun. And I remember they gave me one take. It was fine to mediocre at best. I don't really remember how I did. But they said, would you like another one? And I said, absolutely. And I had the script in my hand, and I threw it on the ground. So it made this giant noise. And even the guy behind the camera would like shut up. And that's all I wanted. I could have left at that moment, but I was just like, yes, I did it. But yeah, I didn't get that role.
That's wonderful.
It's all right.
It's when it comes to auditions, you just never know. You never know what they're looking for.
Yeah.
And my philosophy now, after doing this for about 17 years now, is I don't care what they're looking for. I'm not trying to read someone's mind, right? And I have no idea who the final decision makers are and what their thought processes are on these characters. So all I can do is give them my interpretation of what I'm looking at, right? So I'm going to read this script or this audition scene or whatever it may be, and I'm going to figure out what makes sense to me, and I'm going to give him that. And a lot of it ends up being very simply, let's just put Kurt in these circumstances, and just start there with a baseline that requires absolutely zero acting. You know what I mean? And I say that fully knowing that, yes, saying lines that are not written by you and making them sound natural absolutely takes skill and absolutely is part of acting, right? But what I mean is, like, I'm not going to add any sort of like giving them an accent or giving them any sort of like, physical, type of thing that's different than who I just really am.
Yeah.
And if I simply put myself in any of those circumstances and start there as a baseline, that's already a character. You don't have to do anything more than that to become a character. And I would say, even, for you in that drug dealer role, I would say you didn't even have to put on a voice, right?
Yeah.
Even if you just go with your voice and you feel like it sounds kind of interesting and it doesn't sound like your typical drug dealer, how do you know that wasn't what they were looking for, right?
Right.
And how do you know that they weren't looking for like someone who was a little, off the beaten path and like not your typical? And what if it's like the drug dealer's first day on the job, right? and it's supposed to be, and it's supposed to look kind of like awkward or whatever. So all of those can bring a very unique, character trait. And I feel like the easiest thing to do always from an acting standpoint is just to be me. And if I can just give them me first, and then if we need to eventually add a little bit of flavor on top of a particular character, cool. But I would venture to say 90+% of the roles that I've played is just me being me. And if anybody out there who's trying to act can start with that baseline, and if you can make other people's lines sound realistic coming out of your mouth, spoken by you, just as you as the human being, you're already acting.
I love that. It's you being you, but you're like wearing a different uniform or
Yeah.
When did you come to that realization?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. And I don't know if I can pinpoint the right time. It's something that I feel like I've heard throughout my career. And I think every actor will have heard this many times throughout their career, is to just be you. Like, being you is enough. But I do think that maybe we dismiss it, or at least speaking from my own standpoint, maybe I dismissed it in the beginning because maybe I just didn't understand it or didn't really feel right about it or whatever. But it just eventually started to make more sense. And eventually, just from, confirmation from what I was actually doing, plus seeing what other people were doing, and then just seeing like examples in quote unquote Hollywood, right? When people would talk about, like, you look at actors like Jeff Goldblum, right? Who's like, you're like, oh yeah, Jeff Goldblum was kind of the same person in every movie. Oh yeah, well, that same person is just him, right? Yeah. It's kind of just his own. That's actually his personality. If you meet him in real life, that's his personality. You talk about somebody else like Michael Cera. Like, Michael Cera is like this awkward kid in every movie. He's very awkward in real life. He's not trying to do something different, right? He's leaning into who he actually is and letting that be the character. And just when I see more of that, and then I look at what I do, and I'm like, okay, that totally makes sense. And you mentioned earlier, it's like you just putting on a different uniform. That's totally true, right? Like, when I'm playing a police officer, for example, in a movie or a show, and if I just think of myself, all right, what if I, instead of like doing what I did in my life and going to college for computer science, what if I had gone to the police academy and became a cop? I wouldn't talk any different. Like, it would still be my voice.
Right.
Maybe I would try to sound more authoritative, but I'm going to do it in my own voice, right? I'm going to think about how does Kurt try to sound more authoritative in other situations where I wouldn't want to be anyway. That's how I would be a cop, right? I wouldn't do like a pretend cop voice if I were a police officer, right? So thinking back to that, I was like, okay, now I can really put myself into any role. And just, all right, I'm just me in this situation, in these circumstances. And if I can really believe in these like imaginary set of circumstances and react talk and react in the way that I really would, it would come off believable. And to answer your question, I think it did take a while and gradually for me to get there. But it probably just took a lot of, the repetitive, people hearing it more and more, and seeing the confirmation from, what I was seeing on screen and in my own work to actually finally start to believe in it.
I have to say I love this process so much because I talk to a lot of actors who do the research and they go somewhere else in their psyche or
Sure.
which, hey, if that's your process, no,
Yeah.
no judgment. But
Absolutely.
I'm just, I'm always fascinated with how they get out of that and how they come back to Earth and be themselves. Versus this, what you're saying is like, oh, it's me as, I've reimagined myself as a cop or as a doctor. I think that's, whoa. I don't know why it just occurred to me. Yeah, you can do that because I guess I come from the generation of you need to be a character. You need to morph yourself and become Plato to fit something.
And look, there are going to be times where that's called for, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying that this is going to work every single time, but it has worked enough where I've built a career off of like just being able to do that.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean like, look, if there's an audition where I got to play an alien, right? And
me as an alien.
Yeah, it's not even like a human being.
Yeah.
Okay, well, all right. I got to do some more work to try to figure that out. And probably somebody with a different method or a different technique might be able to achieve something, better than I can from that standpoint, right? And that's the beautiful thing about like this being an art form, and there are so many different techniques out there, and people do all kinds of different things. There's the whole, Daniel Day-Lewis being so famous for doing method acting, and he's just like gets into a character and stays in the character for months on end. And, that's not how I learned it. That's not how I trained. But who am I to say anything bad about his process, right? I mean, multi-Oscar winner. I think there's a space in here for anyone in any process of how they get there and how they, achieve their end result. And I've found that this works for me, and I'm happy to share it with anybody who's, struggling to find what works for them. And I just think this is anybody can at least do this, right? Anybody can at least try to throw everything else away without any other, becoming someone else. Like that just seems too hard, right? Anybody can at least set a baseline of, I can just be myself and say these words as myself without any other flavor added onto it. And let's start from there. Yeah. And if that already brings life to the scene, then don't even do anything else. Right. Let's just go with that.
Right. I mean, yeah, for sure. What you just explained, I feel like for the person just getting into acting is just kind of like, oh, I could do that. That's doable and not intimidating at all. So
absolutely,
yeah, and wherever you go with it later, that's where you go. But yeah, no, I love that. I'm gonna start auditioning now.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope it helps you out. I mean, I do get though, like some, especially the newer actors, when they when they hear that they're like, oh, well, that feels kind of boring, right? It feels like it's not like a character because I'm just being me. But you just got to remember, like everybody's a character. Just a human being is a character. Yeah. So you are in and of yourself a character, and the feeling of it being boring is just because you're doing what you do every day of your life, and you feel like it's boring because it's you've lived with yourself for however many years that you've been alive, right? But for anybody else who's never met you before, you're a full-blown human being who's different than everybody else, and if you could just simply be yourself, it already looks like a character to anyone who's observing from the other side.
I love it. I agree. I'm just kind of thinking of, like, would this And I don't want to like a debate or anything. Like, would this work on the theater, on the theater
Sure.
stage?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it where theater is really interesting and where it's different from on camera
Mm.
acting is that in theater, it's much more common for
Mm.
you to play someone and be cast as someone who is totally different than who
Right.
you are. And when I say that, I mean like even physically, right?
Mm.
So, you know, I it wouldn't be unheard of for them to cast me as like a 12-year-old,
Mm-hmm.
in theater, because you just like kind of dress the character up a little bit differently, you put on a little voice or whatever. And because you're, you know, at the closest 20 feet away, right, on stage, you can kind of get away with it,
Yeah.
right? And it also wouldn't be unheard of to make me like a grandmother, right? Put
Mm.
a wig, put on a Miss Doubtfire dress, right? And just kind of like
Hello.
go through it and go through the motions. And you could do that in theater because it's much more of a, it's a bigger wide shot medium,
Mm.
right? Because you're looking at the totality and you're kind of viewing everybody in their whole, but you're not like in close as a close up, and film and
Right.
TV is a close up all the time. And so they're not going to cast me as a grandma, they're just going to cast someone who looks like a grandma, right?
Right.
And so that's where it wouldn't necessarily work. In theater, you kind of like, if you get cast as a grandma, I can't just be me as a grandma, right? Now you do have to do some acting and
Yeah.
do all, but it's much more easily achievable for film and television because your look and who you just already look like
Yeah.
feeds into the character already. And so that's a lot easier than to just be like, well, they already need someone that look like me. Why don't you, I just might as well just behave like me also. And now you got a character.
Boom. There you go. There you go. And so you kind of have. You have two projects currently running. Well, one is a show, and then the other's this movie.
Yeah, so I'm very blessed to have get to work on so many different projects, year in and year out, and one of them is this movie "Regretting You" that's opening this week, at the end of this week, and the other that I am recurring on is this show called Will Trent
Mm-hmm.
that is currently filming its fourth season here in Atlanta, and it airs on ABC and Hulu. So season 4 is going to debut in January of 2026. And then also I have a guest appearance on the iconic Law and Order SVU.
Oh,
That is this week, actually, on Thursday.
whoa.
So
Okay.
yeah, I'm very excited about that.
My.
What a show. In its 27th season,
Yeah.
now for a show to get like 5 seasons is incredible, and for them to be in their 27th season and to have gotten a chance to be a part of that, that world, and get to play a character in that world was really an incredible experience, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that episode turns out this week.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah. The Law and Order was a huge show around the house
Mm.
growing up, just because my dad is a police officer, so naturally it was just like Law and Order, and I enjoy it. I mean, do you have any scenes with Mariska?
I wish I did,
Oh
man.
man.
But I got to work with some of the other series regular cast, but she was not even on set that day. She had the day off. There were no scenes for her, so did not get to even meet her. But I have some other friends that have worked on the show
Yeah.
and have said so many glowing things about, working with her and how great she was. So I can only imagine. I hopefully sometime in the future, if I get a chance to go back there, um,
Yeah.
get a chance to work with her again. She just today she appeared on Amy Poehler's podcast,
Yes.
Good Hand. And I watched that podcast this morning, and it was a really fun interview, and she just seems so great, and I wish I had a chance to work with her, but we'll put it in the universe sometime in the future.
Yes, do I saw that episode. I love Amy Poehler's podcast, and
Yeah.
I Mariska is just everybody needs a Mariska in their life. So that's just like you say Mariska Hargitay and everyone's like, oh, she's the best. Like, of course she is. Yeah. But yeah, everyone needs one in their lives. And I don't know why I had this bit. I was telling this bit to my girlfriend. If we have kids, I want to name them. I want two kids, one named Mariska, the other one Hargitay, just for that joke. That's it. But
What if they're twin boys?
still, I don't care. I don't care.
That'll be their names.
Yeah, they're neutral names. I feel like.
Yeah.
So, and then so you all you said that you are series regular on Will Trent.
I'm a recurring
character.
Yeah, it'd be great. It'd be great if they upgrade me to series regular at some point. But right now, recurring and having a blast doing it.
Have you at all seen? She's a friend of the podcast, Christina Wren.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've worked with Christina many times.
She came on the podcast like a long time when I think Batman v Superman was gonna come out.
Yeah.
And I was just blown away that she was like, "What? You're coming on?" And it was just so much respect for her, and she.
Oh, great! I'll reach out to Christina after this and tell her that you say hi. I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, no,
I got to work with if you watch season 3, episode 7, I believe, of Will Trent. So last season, episode 7. Christina and I both, because we're both recurring characters and kind of have like some scenes here and there every episode. But in that particular episode, we both had a pretty big role and got to like really play. So if you want to check that out, like we got to have a lot of fun on that one. But
for sure,
Christina's been fantastic. Getting to know her and working with her, and I've gotten to meet her and her husband quite a few times. Just through working on Will Trent, but now getting a chance to see some of her own projects because her husband's a filmmaker too, and seeing what they're doing with the projects that they're producing as a team, which is fantastic. So yeah, I've been she's a friend and I'm a fan of hers.
Yeah, no, when you were talking about we film or hey, having that group of friends together, and you're like, hey, you guys want to film a movie? I immediately thought of her because I feel like that's what it would be like
100%.
in her circle. Because she's always doing stuff, creative things, and she's the best. So, and then again, this movie we talked a little bit about it, but Regretting You, what was the process of getting the movie, and are you ever intimidated by actors in the movie, or like, oh, I got to step up my game, like anything like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, first let me answer your first question. So the process of getting that has just been like the process of getting almost all my roles has been, my agent gets an audition for me and I, send in the audition, and then you kind of just wait and see what happens. And this one happened to reach out and said they wanted to hire me for the role. And I get a chance to get onto that project and work with, some really, I've been familiar with both Allison Williams and Dave Franco for, quite a while, and getting the chance to work with them was really an honor to see them work and to work alongside them in that scene. They were such fantastic, not just actors, but also collaborators. You always want to see the number ones and number twos, the leads on the call sheet, to be, really the leaders of the production, right? And they certainly were, and set a great work environment, set a great tone for the work environment, set a great, community feel, very collaborative feel, very welcoming. And you know, just can't say enough good things about getting a chance to work with them. And if there was any intimidation going into it, you know, they were very good about like, hey, you know, we're all a team here. You know, we're very much collaborators here. It certainly made me feel welcome, and there was no, you know, there were no nerves or anything that ended up being there during the day. But I will say that I was certainly thrown to the wolves on my very first TV show
Yeah.
when I worked on a show called Shots Fired back in 2016.
Hmm.
And it was my very first TV show, and the scene was with Helen Hunt and Richard Dreyfuss, two Oscar winners,
Oh, yeah.
and me. And I was the only other person speaking in the scene. So it was two Oscar winners and me. And I had all this, I played Richard Dreyfuss's attorney in that scene. And I had all this lawyer jargon to spew out. And I just remember being so nervous, like just sweating bullets and not being able, I had nervous movements while we were shooting. And what got me through it was that while we were shooting the scene, both Oscar winners at some point during the shoot flubbed lines.
Ah. Yep.
And we had to do another take, and I was, oh my God, how much that calmed me down. And I felt a lot better because I can't imagine if they both nailed it
Right.
on take one.
They're human. Okay, now I can
Yeah.
breathe.
Yeah, and I've really taken that, remember, because that was such a great lesson for just the rest of my career of
Yeah.
like, all right, they're all human. They all make mistakes. And it's just not only them making mistakes, but seeing how they deal with their mistakes and how little it bothered them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh, we flipped a line. Cool. Take two. Right? Let's get right to it. And it's just like in so many times, and I still go through this. So many times as actors, we feel like saying the lines right is the most important thing, and it's not. I mean, especially in film and TV when you got multiple takes to get through things, right? So it's like, let's just have fun and explore, and the more comfortable you are, the less you're going to be worried about the lines, and the easier they're going to come out, the less you're worried about them. But that was such a great learning experience to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think it's always, like in your case, nice that you got that early on, and just like, okay, it's not like everything's all downhill, but it just, the butterflies go away, and it's like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. I will say though, as far as like being starstruck,
Yeah.
there was one time where I didn't even get to meet the guy. I only heard that there was a possibility of meeting the guy, and I was already starstruck. And it was I was I had the very, very great fortune to get to work on Cobra Kai,
Oh.
and in the final season, there was a rumor. I can't remember who even started the rumor or how I heard it, but there was a rumor that Jackie Chan was going to be on set.
Yeah.
And the day before, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to meet Jackie Chan. And I was already starstruck just hearing his name. And it didn't happen. Like, it was a rumor, and it was a false rumor.
Yeah.
But I when people talk about being starstruck, my story is being starstruck by Jackie Chan just hearing his name.
Yeah, no, I can certainly get that, just kind of thinking back at his career and how much he's evolved, especially the stunt game, the action sequence game. It's like, how do you meet that person? Like, I kind of don't want to, because I'm like, I'm going to say something dumb. I'm going to quote a bad line from Rush Hour. So yeah, no, get me out of here. Let me go. So, but yeah, that's awesome though. And for the people at home, well, actually, before I get into that, I would love to know, and I'm even more curious what your answer will be. Okay. And this is a question, no pressure. Tells me everything I need to know about you, but no pressure. To you, what makes a good role?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Man, I don't know if there is going to be one specific thing. I've had so many good roles that I can recount that that I consider good for various reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was, you know, my role on Black Widow, which is a very small part of the movie,
Yeah.
but oh my gosh, to have gotten the incredible opportunity to work on that movie and to work in the MCU and
Yeah.
to have them fly me out to London and put me up in a hotel for 3 weeks to use me on set for 3 days. So basically, I had a paid vacation
Yep.
for most of it. You know, I certainly didn't have like a huge part in it, but I certainly would never tell anyone that was a bad role.
Mm-hmm.
It was an incredible role, an incredible experience to be a part of that for so many reasons. And then there's other times where it's the actual, the actual acting, the actual work involved.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, really fun to dive into and play. And one of those happened to be this little indie film that I did. It wasn't anything huge, but I got to play a lead role in this and really be a part of the whole story of the show or of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a home invasion thriller called By Night's End, directed by a local writer-director here in Atlanta. And we filmed that. When did we film it? It was like 2018, 2019 or something like that. But for a totally different reason, that was not in another country, right? Yeah. That was right here in the backyards of Atlanta, and we were shooting at his house. So from a budget standpoint, couldn't be more night and day from Disney's budgets to a very low budget indie film, but in a totally different way, a fantastic role to take on. So I wish I could give you a straight answer, but there just really isn't one. Just so many reasons to appreciate all different roles for different reasons.
I still like that. I feel like you answered it. I'm not gonna. The experience, the life experience, the people behind it. That's always fun. Like good people, good surrounding. Like
100%.
Yeah. And so for the people at home who would like to follow you online and, see what you got going on or anything like that, where can they do all that?
So I have a YouTube channel called the Acting Career Center, and that's where I actually share a lot of acting tips and, like kind of behind the scenes about the industry for anybody who is interested in getting into the industry. So that's where I probably share the most. I do have an Instagram. It's just my first and last name, but it's just, mainly just like personal stuff and, photos of me traveling or photos of my dog.
I was going to say, and the puppy, I saw the puppy. Yeah. So
yeah, she's right here. She's right here in my lap. But yeah, most of my stuff online is it'll be my YouTube channel, or if they're interested in my acting work, then just please support Will Trent when season 4 debuts. We're really grateful that it's gotten to a season 4, and hopefully it can be one of those shows. We're aiming for SVU. We're aiming for 27 seasons.
Come on, let's get those SVU numbers. Come on.
Yeah.
But Kurt, thank you so much for chatting with me. Anytime you want to come back and just talk about nothing, I would love that.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. This was awesome.
But you have a wonderful rest of your day, and keep staying safe and healthy. Okay.
You too.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.